Welcome to Hardly, where the book is distilled into a chronological story, offering you a special journey in just minutes. Today we study together Sapiens, a brief history of humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, in which we probe into the idea that humanity's unparalleled dominance stems not from individual intellect, but from our ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers through shared beliefs and stories. Yuval Noah Harari, born in 1976, holds a PhD in history from the University of Oxford. He currently serves as a professor in the history department at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Don't go away. Hardly, the editor, will be right back with the story. Imagine a small band of early humans around 70,000 years ago roaming the vast savannas of East Africa. They are not yet the rulers of the earth, far from it. In fact, they are not much different from other animals around them, struggling to survive, competing for resources. A Neanderthal group could easily have outmuscled them. A pride of lions would have sent them scattering in terror. But then, something extraordinary happens. Not in their bodies, but in their minds. Suddenly, these early Homo sapiens begin to communicate in ways no other species can, sharing stories, plans, and warnings that go beyond simple cries of danger. It wasn't just about telling each other that a lion was nearby. They could say things like, "Over the next hill there's a place where we can trap antelope," or even, "That river spirit demands respect, or we'll lose our luck in hunting." Their language, rich with imagination and symbolism, gave them the power to cooperate with those beyond their immediate group. They began to believe in shared myths, which became the glue that bound them together. As their minds expanded, so did their ambitions. They didn't have sharper teeth or stronger muscles, but their ability to unite under shared ideas made them more powerful than any physical predator. Soon, these bands of Homo sapiens spread out of Africa, reaching places like the Middle East and Europe. They encountered other human species, like the Neanderthals, but unlike them, Homo sapiens had something different, the ability to think collectively and creatively. With this, they not only survived, but thrived. One example of this new mindset is the famous tree of knowledge, a metaphor for the newfound awareness and creativity that allowed these early humans to imagine things that didn't exist. This ability enabled them to create religions, social hierarchies, and even moral codes, pushing them to develop more complex societies. As Harari notes, Homo sapiens conquered the world thanks above all to its unique language. It was this capacity for flexible communication and the creation of shared beliefs that allowed humans to form larger groups, cooperate on grander scales, and ultimately dominate the planet. This revolution, however, didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual but unstoppable process where ideas took on more power than any muscle ever could. The cognitive revolution laid the foundation for what was to come. Humans no longer acted just as individual beings, but as part of something larger, a culture, a society, a shared story. But what came next was equally transformative. As humans learned to cooperate, they also began to manipulate their surroundings, moving from a nomadic lifestyle into something much more settled. This leap would lead them into the agricultural revolution, where they traded their freedom for the security of the land. And with that, human history would change forever. Imagine a small tribe of early humans around 12,000 years ago, living by a river in what is now modern-day Iraq. These people had spent millennia as hunter-gatherers, moving with the seasons, eating what the land provided. Life was simple but free. One day, a young woman kneels by the riverbank, noticing the way wild wheat grows tall and thick near the water's edge. She gathers some of the seeds, storing them in her pouch. Months later, she returns to the same spot. Where she had dropped some seeds before, more wheat has sprouted. A simple observation, but it would soon change everything. The people of this tribe begin to realize that instead of wandering for food, they can plant it. They don't have to rely on nature's whims anymore. This discovery spreads, and soon other groups begin cultivating grains, domesticating animals, and settling into permanent homes. No longer nomads, these early humans build small villages around their crops. At first, it seems like a miracle. More food, less uncertainty. But there's a catch. As they settle down, populations grow, and more hands are needed to tend the fields. Farming demands constant work, plowing, sowing, harvesting, and it ties people to the land. Inequality begins to seep in. Some families own larger plots, while others labor for them. Surplus food gives rise to trade, but it also brings competition and conflict. Suddenly, there's wealth to defend, leading to the construction of walls and the rise of rulers. The woman who once wandered freely is now stuck in an endless cycle of planting and reaping. Her descendants will live and die on the same piece of land. Harari describes this change as history's biggest fraud, arguing that agriculture was not the blessing it appeared to be, but rather a trap. Humans traded their freedom for the illusion of security. As the centuries pass, the simple villages grow into cities, and those cities grow into empires. Monuments like the pyramids are built, not by free citizens, but by the labor of thousands of peasants, their lives devoted to the whims of kings and gods. There is no justice in history, Harari reminds us, as these empires rise on the backs of the many for the benefit of the few. The agricultural revolution was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allowed humanity to develop complex societies, establish trade routes, and advance culture. But it also entrenched inequality, created social hierarchies, and introduced suffering on a scale never seen before. And yet, this transformation was only the beginning. As humans expanded their control over the earth, they sought to understand not just how to grow crops, but how to conquer nature itself. This thirst for knowledge and power would lead to another revolution, this time in the realm of science. The next chapter in human history would bring about a new kind of domination, one driven by curiosity, experimentation, and the hunger for progress. The scientific revolution. It's the year 1543, and a young astronomer named Nicholas Copernicus sits in his study, staring at the night sky. Until this moment, people believed that Earth was the center of the universe, with the sun and stars revolving around it. But Copernicus has a radical thought. What if the sun, not Earth, is at the center? It seems absurd, yet the evidence is clear. This moment marks the birth of the scientific revolution, where humans begin to admit their ignorance and seek answers beyond ancient texts and traditions. From this point onward, something remarkable happens. Instead of accepting religious or philosophical explanations, people like Galileo, Newton, and Darwin start asking questions and performing experiments. They embrace the idea that humans don't know everything, but they can learn. This shift in thinking changes everything. For the first time in history, human beings actively look for ways to improve their world not through prayer or ritual, but through systematic inquiry. Empires like Britain, France, and Spain quickly realized the power of science. With new knowledge comes the ability to conquer faraway lands, harness resources, and dominate the global economy. In the 18th century, these empires used technology, maps, weapons, and navigation to expand their influence. Science and empire become deeply intertwined. Modern science flourished alongside the imperial project, Harari writes, revealing how knowledge and power grew hand in hand. By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution kicks into full gear. Machines powered by coal and steam transform factories, and capitalism begins to dominate human life. Instead of small markets and local economies, global trade becomes the norm. Production scales like never before, but so does inequality. The gap between rich and poor grows wider, and society starts to revolve around money and progress at any cost. Yet, in this world of industry and empire, science continues to push boundaries. It's not just about machines, though. In the 20th century, scientists begin to explore the building blocks of life itself. DNA is unraveled and the atomic bomb is created. Humans now have the power not only to shape the world around them, but to control life and death itself. We are more powerful than ever before, but have very little idea what to do with that power, Harari remarks. This unrelenting drive for progress opens up questions. What's next? Can we trust ourselves with the future? Looking ahead, the scientific revolution has not ended. In fact, it's only accelerating. We now stand on the brink of creating artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and even superhumans. The future could be incredible, or it could lead to the end of Homo sapiens as we know it. The scientific revolution was more than a period of discovery. It was the moment when humans decided they could shape their destiny. However, this pursuit of knowledge and power has also left us grappling with the consequences of what we've created. As we move forward into an age of unprecedented technology, we must ask, what will we choose to become? Humans rose to power not because of individual strength or intelligence, but through the ability to cooperate flexibly in large groups bound by shared beliefs and myths. From the cognitive revolution's development of complex language to the agricultural revolution's shift to settled societies, humans created systems like religion, money, and governments that enabled mass collaboration. The scientific revolution then gave us tools to conquer nature itself, further shaping the future. It's this collective imagination that sets us apart from other species. As the editor of Hardly, by learning the entirety of the above, we can forge a future where we question not just what we can do, but what we should do with the extraordinary tools we now possess. The key takeaway from our journey is clear. Humanity's success lies not in our individual intellect, but in our ability to cooperate through shared myths and collective beliefs. This is what has allowed Homo sapiens to thrive, and it's a theme that runs through every era, from the cognitive to the scientific revolution. One story that particularly stands out takes us to the early days of capitalism. In 1637, the Netherlands was gripped by what is now known as tulip mania. People began trading tulip bulbs for enormous sums, believing they were worth more than gold. Fortunes were made and lost over these fragile flowers. At the height of the frenzy, a single bulb could buy a house. However, this bubble soon burst, leaving many in financial ruin. Harari points to this event as a prime example of how human societies construct shared fictions, such as money and markets, which are as powerful as they are fragile. Money is the most universal and efficient system of mutual trust ever devised, Harari states, and this trust can be built up or shattered, as the tulip trade showed. Reflecting on this, we see how our collective belief systems, whether in religion, empire, or markets, have the power to unite, divide, or even destroy us. As we look toward the future, understanding how these myths shape us is critical to navigating the challenges ahead.